Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're looking into something that, on the surface, seems like straightforward Cold War stuff. Operation Fishbowl. Those 1962 high-altitude nuclear tests.
Right. But the material we've been digging into, it presents a totally different picture. Forget just military testing.
Yeah, completely different. The sources we have analyze Operation Fishbowl as, and I'm quoting here, the most powerful and dangerous magical ritual ever performed by the elites.
It's a huge claim, definitely. Not your standard history textbook interpretation.
Not at all. So our mission today is to unpack that claim. The core idea in these sources is that the whole operation was this really deliberate technological attempt to mimic and crucially master the power of what they call the Great Reset.
Which they define as this fundamental cyclical process, cosmic change, cleansing, that sort of thing.
Exactly. So to get our heads around this, we need to look beyond just the official records. We need to decode the symbolism these sources see embedded everywhere, the code names, the location, even the mechanics of how the tests were done.
It does sound pretty out there, I admit. But the argument in this material is that every choice, like which missile they used, how high the detonation was, it was all supposedly driven by this deep cosmological symbolism, an attempt to replicate divine events using technology.
Okay, so let's start with the setting, the stage for this.
Right.
Ritual, as they call it. The core idea again. A direct attempt to mimic and master the very power of the Great Reset. That's some serious ambition.
Oh, absolutely. It implies, well, supreme hubris, doesn't it? In this viewpoint, technology, especially in the hands of this specific group they call the elites, becomes a tool for essentially high magic.
And it starts with the name itself, right? Fishbowl.
Yeah, the sources claim even the name is loaded. They say it's one of the elites' sort of coded cynical names for what they call the pen.
The pen, what does that signify in this context?
It reinforces this idea of a controlled environment, you see. If you believe the world is your personal aquarium, then calling your big experiment Fishbowl is, well, it's a pretty stark label for the global enclosure.
And humanity are
The fish, yeah. Unwitting pawns swimming around inside it. So in this interpretation, the elite are literally stamping their symbol of control right onto the operation.
Okay, that really shifts the perspective. It's not a neutral scientific name anymore. It's an assertion of dominion. And that feeling, that idea of control, seems reinforced by the location they picked, Johnston Atoll.
Absolutely. The material we went through uses some incredibly harsh language for Johnston Atoll. They call it the elite's laboratory of apocalypse.
Wow.
Also their profane black site, and even their Mordor.
Mordor, okay, that's evocative. Beyond just being, secret and probably contaminated, what does Mordor imply here?
It suggests this place of, like, absolute deliberate darkness and technological worship, almost a perversion of nature. The source material argues it was sort of fitting, then, that their most powerful ritual,
The big one.
yeah, the climax of their attempts to synthesize this cosmic power, would happen at their most secret, most isolated, and frankly, most contaminated site. The stage wasn't just remote, it was ritually prepared, in their view.
Okay, so we have the stage set. Let's move to the operation itself. The sources claim it was designed as a literal technological reenactment of the divine cataclysm. How do the components fit that?
This is where the layering of symbolism gets really dense, according to the sources. Take the main event, the high-altitude nuclear detonation. They call that the profane sun.
A profane sun.
Explicitly, they say, an attempt to replicate something called the reunion eclipse.
So a man-made sun. A technological star, basically. The material we read says this explosion was a profane imitation of the flash of light that's supposed to signal the awakening of the monarch.
Right. The monarch being a key figure in this cosmic framework. Essentially, the claim is they were trying to technologically create their own beta principle.
Okay, let's clarify that beta principle for anyone listening. In this specific model from the sources, beta is like the spark, the disruptive energy that kicks off big changes.
Exactly. Pure creative or maybe destructive creative force. The spark that starts the cycle. And they were trying to manufacture it, control that fire.
But a spark needs, well, something to carry it. And this is where it gets even more symbolic, right? Because the delivery system wasn't just any rocket. It was a Thor missile.
Precisely. And the sources interpret that choice not as coincidence, not just because it worked, but as a literal invocation.
An invocation of the Norse god.
Yes. They describe Thor, the god, as the established avatar of Alpha in this system, and his role, the wrecking ball.
Okay, but hang on. pragmatically, the Thor missile was chosen for its capabilities, its range, its ability to get a payload that high, right?
Yeah.
How do the sources square the practical military need with this symbolic interpretation?
That's central to their argument. They suggest the practical function confirmed its symbolic role. It wasn't just named Thor, it acted like the mythological wrecking ball delivering the divine fire.
So the tech specs match the myth.
In their view, yes. The claim, and it's pretty specific, is they were using an effigy of the lunar god Thor to carry the fire of their profane sun. This blend of, advanced rocketry and ancient cosmology is what makes this interpretation so different.
It suggests a level of planning, a meticulousness, that goes way beyond just making sure the bomb goes off.
Yeah.
And they say this detail extends even to the flight path. The warhead detonated on a downward trajectory.
Yes. And again, the material says this isn't just physics, arc of ballistic missile. This specific downward path is seen as a perfect mimicry of the falling star prophecy.
The falling star. Which symbolizes what in this system?
The descent of the moon, another cosmic principle in their model to cleanse the Earth.
Okay, so let me see if I have this right according to the sources. You've got the alpha principle, Thor, the wrecking ball missile.
Yep.
Delivering the beta principle, the profane sun, the nuclear flash.
Right.
Following the trajectory of the divine cataclysm, the falling star prophecy. The whole package is a technological reenactment.
A ritual of mimicry, designed, they argue, to declare that technology could equal or even surpass cosmic power.
So if the operation itself was the ritual, the sources then claimed the code names for the individual tests were like the closing statements, the declaration of victory.
Pretty much. A blatant confession is how they put it, like an internal memo broadcast to the cosmos. And the most famous test name, Starfish Prime, is apparently key here.
Starfish Prime. How do they break that down?
They argue it was a ritual declaration of mastering all three principles of their trinity, the core forces they believe run everything.
Okay, Trinity. We've got Alpha, Thor, and Beta, the Starflash. What's the third, and how does Starfish Prime cover it all?
Good question. So the star in Starfish, they link that to the monarch's eye, which connects back to the beta principle that manufactured spark.
Okay, star is Beta. What about fish?
The fish, they say, is the symbol of the Omega Ocean. And Omega, in their definition, is the primordial substance, the environment, the all-encompassing context.
The container, which brings us back to Fishbowl, the aquarium idea.
Exactly. The Omega Ocean is the fishbowl, the environment they want to control. So you've got Alpha Thor delivering it, Beta, the star monarch's eye, and Omega, the fish-up environment.
And Prime.
Prime just signifies first, most important mastery.
So Starfish Prime, according to this interpretation, was them essentially shouting, we control Alpha, Beta, and Omega now. All three. That's quite a statement.
It's the ultimate declaration of control within their framework. And apparently, the hubris didn't stop there. One of the later tests was named simply Checkmate.
Wow. Checkmate.
Yeah.
Just flat out naming a nuclear test after the winning move in chess.
It doesn't get much more audacious than that, does it? The sources see this as the absolute peak of their perceived arrogance. Checkmate is final. It's irreversible.
Game over.
Right. So the authors argue that by naming this test Checkmate, the elites were declaring their belief that through this power, the profane sun, the wrecking ball, they could literally achieve the final winning move in the cosmic game.
They declared checkmate against the universe. But did the universe agree? The sources suggest there was pushback, right, from the game board itself.
Yeah, and the pushback, according to the material, was immediate and physical, though not in the way you might expect. The operation produced this massive electromagnetic pulse, an EMP.
I remember reading about that. It was much bigger than expected, caused electrical problems in Hawaii, hundreds of miles away.
Way bigger than their profane science, as the sources call it, had predicted. And this is where the interpretation gets really interesting. The sources claim this EMP wasn't just some unexpected side effect of nuclear physics in the upper atmosphere.
What was it then, in their view?
They call it a warning shot from the electromagnetic dome itself.
The dome. Like the structure of reality pushed back, a physical manifestation.
That's exactly how it's framed. It was the game board itself reacting, showing the elites, okay, you think you can play, here's a glimpse of the real scale of power you're messing with.
They tried to fit the cosmos into their fishbowl.
And the cosmos basically overflowed it. The EMP was the universe demonstrating that its actual power is infinitely greater and more unpredictable than their profane mimicry can ever hope to control.
That puts a whole different spin on unexpected scientific results.
It does. The ultimate claim in the material is pretty stark. They tried to play God, and God showed them the true scale of his power.
That is a powerful and yet chilling interpretation of a historical event. So
Mhm.
just to recap the scope of what these sources are claiming, Operation Fishbowl wasn't just about weapons testing. It was this deeply symbolic, meticulously planned technological ritual.
Weaving together all these elements, Alpha, Beta, Thor, Monarch, Falling Star, Omega, all aimed at declaring mastery over this cosmic system, this game.
And the key takeaway, maybe building on that idea of the EMP as a warning shot, is this huge gap they highlight. The gap between human technological ambition, creating a profane sun, declaring checkmate,
And the reality of these vast, unpredictable cosmic forces that, according to this view, underpin everything. They use the most advanced tech of 1962.
and got a response they couldn't predict or control.
Yeah.
It really makes you reconsider the intention behind some of these massive Cold War projects, doesn't it?
Yeah.
At least through the lens of these particular sources.
Absolutely. And if you take that perspective seriously, even just hypothetically, it forces you to ask some big questions. Not just about institutions and power, but maybe about reality itself. What if the really complex physics, like that giant unexpected EMP, what if that's just a side
A
effect
side effect of what?
of a much larger cosmological game, maybe one that operates on rules we barely grasp, perhaps better understood through myth than through equations, a game that our technology can poke at, can disrupt, maybe even mimic on a small scale, but never truly control. That's the kind of power dynamic these sources suggest was at play in Operation Fishbowl. An attempt to seize control met with a reminder of who or what is really in charge. Makes you think.